Lift up your heart and praise. Lift up your hands and praise. Lift up your voice and praise.
And Moshe said, Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to everyone worshiping with us at home. We're coming up on the Passover season, and we've been doing a little work on the Passover as far as our study goes. And the name of the message today is called The Fruit of the Vine. And here at the congregation of Yahweh in Calhoun, Georgia, on Passover evening, one of the things that we traditionally do as believers in Yahshua is to follow the example that he gave his taught ones concerning the bread and the fruit of the vine. Right? Now, one of the peculiar things that we learned in the church concerning this practice was that somehow this took the place of the Passover meal. We were taught that Yahshua gave us these new emblems. Have you ever heard of the new emblems? Mysteriously, Yahshua did this without ever uttering so much as a single word concerning this monumental change in the Torah. The Torah which he said that we weren't even to think that he came to destroy, and not one jot or tittle would pass from it until all be done. And you can certainly not make the claim that all had been done at this point in history, at the night of that meal. But without a single word mentioning this great change in the Torah, somehow Yahshua instituted this monumental change and gave us these new emblems. Emblems which makes Passover all about him now, and not so much about what Yahweh did when he meted out judgment on all the mighty ones of Mitzrayim and brought the children of Israel out of the land of Mitzrayim by a strong hand. Never mind that Yahshua made this great change without saying a single word about the change. Also, this event of giving us the new emblems for Passover was so impressive and remarkable that John, the taught one that Yahshua loved, he didn't even find it noteworthy enough to include it in his account of the meal that they ate that night. He did find the foot washing worthy of recording for all history, but for some reason, this great change in the way that the followers of Yahshua were supposed to keep Passover now was somehow overlooked as he recalled the events of that evening. And when you think about it, doesn't that seem a little strange? Remember, without mentioning a word, they say that Yahshua made these changes to the Torah, which John left out. Something doesn't add up. I did a search on my computer across 17 different translations for the words emblem and emblems. Guess how many hits I got? No, that'd be close. I got one hit in one version, and it was in Psalm 74:4 and had nothing to do with Yahshua. Yet there are those who teach all of this stuff about these new emblems which Yahshua gave that night. But the Scripture's silent about these new emblems. So where does it come from? I believe it comes from Christian Phariseeism. But we learned that in the church. And many Messianics, believers in this walk, continue to believe and teach this false teaching. The teachings of the church have such a strong hold on them that they just can't seem to shake many of the things that they learn to do in the name of JC. I'm serious. Sometimes I think that I would not be too surprised to find out that there are some who claim to be in this walk that would go out and hide resurrection eggs for the kids. Just like many of the churches do today. I personally believe that this idea about replacing Passover with what the church calls the Lord's Supper has its roots in Gnostic ideology, so as to replace something very literal with a spiritual idea that neither Yahweh nor Yahshua ever intended. The idea behind today's message has more to do with what Yahshua actually had in mind when he did what he did with the bread and the fruit of the vine that Passover night. Also, if you had it in mind that I was going to spend much time on proving the percentage of alcohol content or lack thereof that was present in the cup that Yahshua blessed that night, the night that he was delivered up, you will likely be disappointed. I know that this is a bone of contention between groups. Some say, we must use wine. And others say, no, we must use grape juice. No, the grape harvest was back in September. It would have been fermented by then. Yahshua used wine, and so we must. Au contraire, mon frere. But you can keep it cool through the winter so that it does not ferment. Besides, wine has been leavened, and the Passover has to be eaten without leaven. No, no, no. It was not to be eaten with leavened bread. That wasn't talking about wine. Besides, by the time the grape juice becomes wine, the leavening process is over. The yeast dies and falls to the bottom. So what? If you're going to go by that line of logic, you can eat leavened bread then. Because after you cook it, the yeast dies. And the leavening process is over. Just like your wine. And back and forth it goes. Sometimes the devil's in the details, and this may be one of those times where he has created an illusion veiled in a smoke screen to sidetrack the sincere from the Savior's symbols. Now, I personally think that it was wine. But I find it quite interesting that Yahshua used terminology that obscures the actual content. This makes the alcohol content, or lack thereof, somewhat of a mystery and a moot point. Especially since we cannot really know absolutely for sure what was the content, can we? Right? Matthew 26, and we're going to start on verse 27 and be on page 949 in the 98 ISR. Matthew 26 and 27 says, and taking the cup and giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, drink from it, all of you. Now skip down to 29. But I say to you, I shall certainly not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on till the day when I drink it anew with you in the reign of my Father. The exact same language is preserved in both Mark and Luke as well. Mark 14:25 says, truly I say to you, I shall certainly no more drink of the fruit of the vine till that day when I drink it anew in the reign of Elohim. And Luke 22:18 says, for I say to you, I shall certainly not drink of the fruit of the vine until the reign of Elohim comes. Interestingly, these three instances are the only places in the entire Scripture where the phrase fruit of the vine is used. And each is referencing the exact same quote from Yahshua at the exact same event. As the saying goes, a wise man pointed at the moon, and the idiot only what? Looked at his finger. Is it possible that this wise man Yahshua was pointing at one thing, and we've been busy looking at his finger? Could it be that he was making a point that has nothing to do at all with wine or grape juice? I think that he was. By the way, some people want to argue about whether the bread that he broke that night was leavened or not. I think that those folks are probably looking at the knuckle and don't even see the whole finger. Additionally, we need not forget that he did something with the bread that night as well. Now, before we get too far into the scripture, though, I want to propose to you that YHWH introduced no new custom concerning the bread and the wine that night. We would do well to remember that YHWH was a Jew who lived in Judea during the Second Temple period. He spoke Aramaic and Hebrew. He was raised in a Jewish culture. His culture included many traditions and customs and practices that were foreign to nations that were around them. That would include the occupying Roman forces from whom we get many of our customs and traditions. But YHWH was focusing on the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right? That's why he quoted from the Hebrew Scriptures. Amen? That's why he used illustrations like tithing the mint and the anise and the cumin, something that Jews would have been familiar with in that concept. Right? He used Jewish wedding customs to illustrate certain points. He was a Jew in Judea, and he used traditional Jewish stuff when talking to his Jewish audience. Now, there's a very old custom among Jews which is still done today and was done in YHWH's day as well. It's called Hamotzi and Kiddush. All right? This is the blessing of the bread and the fruit of the vine. All right? We know that it predated YHWH. This is from the Encyclopedia of Judaism, and it says Kiddush. From the difference of opinion between the schools of Hillel and Shammai. Those were the two main rabbinic schools that often had conflict between one another because of their differences of opinions. And it says, as to whether the blessing over the wine should precede the benediction of the day, it can be seen that the practice of Kiddush is ancient. Although there is some discussion in the sources, it cannot be determined whether it was originally recited before or after the meal. Now, Hillel lived at about 60 years BCE to about 10, the year 10. He was a Jewish scholar and founder of the dynasty of patriarchs who were the spiritual heads of Jewry until the 5th century. Shammai was active the 1st century before YHWH. He was the elder and a Jewish sage. He founded the Bet Shammai, the school of Shammai, which was the persistent opponent of the rival Bet Hillel, the school of Hillel. So it's quite appropriate to suspect that a tradition that was argued over before and during YHWH's time and that continues to this day was common in YHWH's lifetime as well. Right? As a matter of fact, there are different sects of Jews who argue over today when and what order these blessings should be done. So, the Hamotzi blessing goes like this. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, O Yahweh, our Elohim, sovereign of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Except most modern Jews don't use the name Yahweh. The Kiddush goes like this. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam borei piri hagafen. Blessed are you, O Yahweh, our Elohim, sovereign of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. This is especially done as part of the family's start of the Sabbath evening services. It's conducted by the leader of the house or gathering. YHWH's taught ones would have been quite familiar with this and would naturally have expected their rabbi to conduct it. So what's the big deal? I believe that Yahshua did not introduce a new custom with this, but I do believe that he gave it a profound new meaning. A meaning that would forever change its meaning with his taught ones, no matter how often they did it. For the rest of their lives, they would do it in remembrance of him. In order to get the fullest impact, we're going to have to put 2 or 3 things together. At the Passover meal, the night that he was delivered up, there are 2 different perspectives. Matthew, Mark, and Luke tell much of the same account, but John seemed to be particularly struck with some different details. But as we put them together, I think that you will see a very real correlation. And before we get there, though, let's turn to John chapter 6. All right. John chapter 6. And this is going to be, we're going to be reading on page 1025. We're going to start reading verse 22. And this is right after he fed the 5,000 with the 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes, and right after he walked on the water. All right? We're going to spend a little time on the bread first. John 6:22. And the next day the crowd that was standing on the other side of the sea saw that there was no other boat there except that one into which his taught ones had entered, and that Yahshua had not entered the boat with his taught ones, but his taught ones went away alone. But other boats came from Kinnereth near the place where they ate bread after the master had given thanks. Therefore, when the crowd saw that Yahshua was not there, nor his taught ones, they themselves also entered into the boats and came to Capernaum seeking Yahshua. And having found him on the other side of the sea, they asked him, Rabbi, when did you come here? Yahshua answered and said, Truly, truly, I say to you, you seek me, not because you saw signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were satisfied. Do not labor for the food that is perishing, but for the food that is remaining to everlasting life, which the Son of Adam shall give you, for the Father Elohim has set his seal on him. So they said to him, What should we do to work the works of Elohim? Yahshua answered and said to them, This is the work of Elohim, that you believe in him whom he sent. So he said to them, What sign would you do so that we see and believe you? What would you do? Our fathers ate manna in the wilderness, as it has been written. He gave them bread out of the heavens to eat. Therefore Yahshua said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, Moshe did not give you bread out of the heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread out of the heaven. For the bread of Elohim is he who comes down out of the heaven and gives life to the world. So they said to him, Master, give us this bread always. And Yahshua said to them, now take note, I am the bread of life. What type of bread? Bread of life. He who comes to me shall not get hungry at all, and he who believes in me shall not get thirsty at all. Hungry and thirsty. But I say to you that you have seen me and still do not believe. All that the Father gives me shall come to me, and the one who comes to me I shall by no means cast out. Because I have come down out of the heavens not to do my own desire, but the desire of him who sent me. This is the desire of the Father who sent me, that all he has given me I should not lose of it, but should raise it in the last days. And this is the desire of him who sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him should possess everlasting life. And I shall raise him up the last day. Therefore the Yehudim were grumbling against him, because he said, I am the bread which came down out of the heaven. And they said, Is not this Yahshua the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it that he says, I have come down out of the heaven? Then Yahshua answered and said to them, Do not grumble with one another. No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him. And I shall raise him up the last day. It has been written in the prophets, and they shall be taught by Yahweh. Everyone then who has heard from the Father and learned comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father, except he who is from Elohim. He has seen the Father. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me possesses everlasting life. I am the bread of life. And by the way, this word for bread is artos in Greek, which means regular old bread, not necessarily the unleavened variety. Just for another argument. Your fathers ate the manna in the wilderness and they died. This is the bread which comes down out of the heavens, so that anyone might eat of it and not die. I am the living bread which came down out of the heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he shall live forever. And indeed, the bread that I give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. The Yehudim therefore were striving with one another, saying, how is this one able to give us his flesh to eat? YHWH therefore said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you possess no life in yourselves. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood possesses everlasting life, and I shall raise him up in the last day. For my flesh is truly food, and my blood is truly drink. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood stays in me, and I in him. As the living Father sent me, I live because of the Father. So he who feeds on me shall live because of me. This is the bread which came down out of the heavens. Not as your fathers ate the manna and died. He who eats this bread shall live forever. He said this in the congregation, teaching in Capernaum. Therefore, many of his taught ones, having heard, said, this word is hard. Who is able to hear it? But YHWH, knowing within himself that his taught ones were grumbling about this, said to them, does this make you stumble? What if you see the son of Adam going up where he was before? If the Spirit that gives, it is the Spirit that gives life. The flesh does not profit at all. The words that I speak to you are spirit and are life. But there are some of you who do not believe. For YHWH knew from the beginning who they were who did not believe and who would deliver him up. And he said, because of this, I have said to you that no one is able to come to me unless it has been given to him by my Father. From then on, many of his taught ones withdrew and were not walking with him anymore. YHWH therefore said to the 12, do you also wish to go away? Then Shimon Kepha answered him, Master, to whom shall we go? You possess words of everlasting life, and we have believed, and we know that you are the Messiah, the Son of the living Elohim. YHWH answered them, have I not chosen you, the 12, and one of you is a devil? He was now speaking of Yehuda from Kerioth, the son of Shimon, for he, one of the 12, was about to deliver him up. Okay, so YHWH is comparing himself to bread, lechem, in this passage here. All right. Was he talking about actually eating his real flesh, or was he speaking in an allegory? Remez, if you will. All right. It was an allegory. But the Jews got tore up because they thought he was being allegory. But he was comparing himself to the bread that came down from heaven. But what did he call himself? The son of Adam, right? All right. What was the son of Adam made of, and what did Adam come forth from? Not a tricky question. The earth. That's right, the earth. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lachem min haaretz. Blessed are you, O Yahweh, the King of the universe, who brings forth the bread from the earth. Okay? Even the bread that came down from heaven, the Son of Man. All right? Now watch this. Matthew chapter 12. We're going to start reading in verse 38. Matthew 12, verse 38. Then some of the scribes and Pharisees answered, saying, Teacher, we wish to see a sign from you. But he answering and said to them, A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it, except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the stomach of the great fish, so shall the son of Adam be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of what? The earth. All right? Men of Nineveh shall stand up in judgment with this generation and condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and look, a greater one than Jonah is here. All right? And then also, Mark 8:31, I'll just read it to you. And he began to teach them that the son of Adam was to suffer much and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and scribes and be killed, and after 3 days to rise again. All right? Was Yahshua placed in the earth? Yes, he was. All right. Did he rise and come forth from the earth? Yes, he did. All right. So, are you saying that the bread that came down from heaven, the Son of Man, after 3 days came forth from the earth? Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu, melech haolam, hamotzi lakem min haaretz. Blessed are you, O Yahweh, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Hallelujah. All right. What a crazy coincidence that is. Isn't that crazy? It's that, Yahshua refers to himself as the bread that came down from heaven in John 6, and the night of his arrest, he says a blessing over the bread, which he likens to his body. Could it be that Yahshua had been teaching his taught ones about this for quite a while? And the answer is perhaps so. See, this is a very old tradition, a very old traditional blessing. A very old traditional blessing that's recited by the Jews even in Yahshua's day. All right. One has to consider that this is quite possibly what he said. If it is, can you imagine the change of the significance that his taught ones would have realized? They may have just been blown away. All right. But especially the next time it was recited after his resurrection. Wow. Now, let's fast forward to Passover night, and we're going to read a lot, like I said before, about what he said to his taught ones that night after the meal. All right. We're going to go through 4 chapters of John, who did not mention the bread and the fruit of the vine and the blessings. All right. But we're going to do that to put together what happened before, during, and after the meal. So let's get ready and hang in there. All right. John chapter 13. We're going to need to absorb a lot as we go through here. We're going to start reading in verse 2. And supper taking place, the devil having put it into the heart of Yehuda from Kerioth, the son of Shimon, to deliver him up, Yahshua, knowing that the Father had given all into his hands, and that he had come from Elohim and was going to Elohim, rose from supper and laid aside his garments, and having taken a towel, he girded himself. After that, he put water into a basin and began to wash the feet of the taught ones, and to wipe them with a towel with which he girded with which he was girded. And so he came to Shimon Kepha, that's Simon Peter, and he said to him, Master, do you wash my feet? Yahshua answered and said to him, You do not know what I am doing now, but you shall know after this. Kepha said to him, By no means shall you wash my feet, ever. And Yahshua answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. And Shimon Kepha changed his tune real abruptly, and he said to him, Master, not my feet only, but my hands and my head. Yahshua said to him, He who has had a bath does not need to wash except his feet, but is clean altogether. And you are clean, but not all of you. For he knew who would deliver him up, so he said, You are not all clean. So when he had washed their feet and taken his garments and sat down again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and master, and you say, Well, for I am. Then, if I, master and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example that you should do this as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is an emissary greater than he who sent him. If you know these teachings, blessed are you if you do them. I do not speak concerning all of you. I know whom I have chosen, but the scripture might be fulfilled. He who eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now, I say to you, before it takes place, that when it does take place, you shall believe that I am. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. When YHWH had said this, he was troubled in spirit and witnessed and said, Truly, truly, I say to you, one of you shall deliver me up. The taught ones looked at one another, doubting of whom he spoke, and one of his taught ones, whom YHWH loved, was reclining on the bosom of YHWH. Shimon Kepha then motioned to him to ask who it was of whom he spoke. And leaning back on the breast of YHWH, he said to him, Master, who is it? And YHWH answered, It is he whom I shall give a piece of bread when I have dipped it. And having dipped the bread, he gave it to Yehuda from Kerioth, son of Shimon. And after the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. YHWH therefore said to him, What you do, do quickly. But no one at the table knew why he said this to him, for some were supposing, because Yehuda had the bag, that YHWH was saying to him, Buy what we need for the festival, or that he should give somewhat to the poor. So, having received the piece of bread, he then went out straightway, and it was night. When therefore he went out, YHWH said, Now, the son of Adam has been esteemed, and Elohim has been esteemed in him. If Elohim has been esteemed in him, Elohim shall also esteem him in himself, and straightway esteem him. Little children, yet a little while, and I am with you. You shall seek me, and as I said to the Yehudim, where I am going, you are unable to come. I now also say to you, a renewed command I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this shall all know that you are my taught ones, if you have love for one another. Shimon Kepha said to him, Master, where are you going? YHWH answered him, Where I am going, you are unable to follow me now, but afterwards you shall follow me. Kepha said to him, Master, why am I unable to follow you now? I shall lay down my life for you. And YHWH answered him, Shall you lay down your life for me? Truly, truly, I say to you, the cock shall not crow at all until you have denied me 3 times. 14:1. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in Elohim. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many staying places, and if not, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I shall come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you might be too. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. Alma, that'd be Thomas, said to him, Master, we do not know where you are going, and how are we able to know the way? And YHWH said to him, I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father too. From now on, you know him and have seen. Philip said to him, Master, show us the Father, and it is enough for us. And YHWH said to him, Have I been with you so long, and you have not known me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. And how do you say, Show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words that I speak to you, I do not speak for myself, but the Father who stays in me does his work. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me. Otherwise, believe me because of the works themselves. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he shall do also. And greater works than these he shall do, because I go to my Father. And whatever you ask in my name, that I shall do, in order that the Father might be esteemed in the Son. If you ask whatever in my name, I shall do it. If you love me, you shall guard my commands. And I shall ask the Father, and he shall give you another helper to stay with you forever, the Spirit of truth, whom the world is unable to receive, because it does not see him or know him. But you know him, for he stays with you and shall be in you. I shall not leave you orphans. I am coming to you yet a little while, and the world no longer sees me. But you shall see me, because I live, and you shall live. And that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me, and he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him. Yehuda, not the one from Kerioth, said to him, Master, what has come about that you are about to manifest yourself to us and not to the world? And Yahshua answered him, If anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. He who does not love me does not guard my words, and the word which you hear is not mine, but of the Father who sent me. These words I have spoken to you while still with you, but the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all and remind you all that I said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. You heard that I said to you, I am going away and I am coming to you. If you did love me, you would have rejoiced that I said, I am going to the Father, for my Father is greater than I. And now, I have told you before it takes place that when it does take place, you shall believe. And I shall no longer talk much with you. For the ruler of this world is coming, and he possesses none at all in me. But in order for the world to know that I love the Father, and that as the Father commanded me, so I am doing. Rise up, let us go from here. Now, watch this and remember what he said moments before about drinking the fruit of the vine when we looked at the other accounts. Right? 15:1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. Every branch in me that bears no fruit, he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, so that it bears more fruit. You're already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Stay in me, and I stay in you, as the branch is unable to bear fruit of itself unless it stays in the vine. So neither you unless you stay in me. I am the vine, and you are the branches. He who stays in me and I in him, he bears much fruit. What kind of fruit? Fruit of the vine. Much fruit of the vine. Right? Because without me, you're able to do naught. If anyone does not stay in me, he is thrown away as a branch and dries up, and they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you stay in me, and my words stay in you, you shall ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you. In this my Father is esteemed, that you bear much fruit, and you shall be my taught ones. As the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Stay in my love. If you guard my commands, you shall stay in my love, even as I have guarded my Father's commands and stay in his love. These words I have spoken to you so that my joy might be in you, and that your joy might be complete. This is my command, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, that one should lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends. For all teachings which I heard from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he might give you. These words I command you, so that you love one another. If the world hates you, know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, for this reason the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they shall persecute you too. If you have guarded my word, they would guard yours too. If they have guarded my words, they would guard yours too. But all this they shall do to you because of my name, because they do not know him who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would have no sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. He who hates me hates my Father as well. If I did not do among them the works which no one else did, they would have no sin. But now they have both seen and have hated both me and my Father. But that the word might be filled, which was written in the Torah, they hated me without a cause. And when the Helper comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, the Spirit of the truth who comes from the Father, he shall bear witness of me, but you also bear witness, because you have been with me from the beginning. Then 16:1. These words I have spoken to you so that you do not stumble. They shall put you out of the congregations, but an hour is coming when everyone who kills you shall think he is rendering service to Elohim. And this they shall do to you, because they did not know the Father nor me. But I have said these words to you, so that when the hour comes, you remember that I told them to you. And these words I did not say to you at the beginning, for I was with you. But now I go away to him who sent me, and not one of you asked me, where are you going? But because I have said these words to you, grief has filled your heart. But I say the truth to you. It is better for you that I go away, for I do not go away. If I do not go away, the Helper shall not come to you at all, but if I go, I shall send him to you. And having come, he shall reprove the world concerning sin, and concerning righteousness, and concerning judgment. Concerning sin, because they do not believe in me. Concerning righteousness, because I go to my Father, and you see me no more. Concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged. I still have many words to say to you, but you are not able to bear them now. But when he comes, the Spirit of the truth, he shall guide you into all the truth, for he shall not speak from himself, but whatever he speaks, he shall speak, and he shall announce to you what is to come. He shall esteem me, for he shall take of what is mine and announce it to you. All that the Father has is mine. That is why I said that he takes from what is mine and announces it to you. A little while, and you do not see me, and again a little while, and you shall see me. Therefore, some of his taught ones said to one another, what is this that he says to us, a little while, and you do not see me, and again a little while, and you shall see me, and because I'm going to the Father? So they said, what is this he says, a little while? We do not know what he is saying. YHWH therefore knew that they were wishing to ask him, and he said to them, are you asking one another about what I said, a little while, and you do not see me, and again a little while, and you shall see me? Truly, truly, I say to you that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. And you shall be grieved, but your grief shall become joy. The woman has grief when she is in labor, because her hour has come. But as soon as she has given birth to the child, she no longer remembers the affliction, for the joy that a man has been born into the world. And you, therefore, have grief now, but I shall see you again, and your heart shall rejoice. And no one takes your joy away from you. And in that day you shall ask me, none at all. Truly, truly, I say to you, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he shall give you. Until now you have asked naught in my name. Ask, and you shall receive, in order that your joy might be complete. These words I have spoken to you in figures of speech, but an hour is coming when I shall no longer speak to you in figures of speech, but I shall declare the Father plainly to you. In that day you shall ask in my name, and I do not say to you that I shall pray to the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself does love you, because you have loved me and have believed that I came forth from Elohim. I came forth from the Father and have come into the world to the world. Read that again. I came forth from the Father and have come into the world. Again, I'll leave the world and go to the Father. His taught one said to him, see, now you are speaking plainly and not using figures of speech. Now we know that you know all and have no need that anyone should question you. By this we believe that you came forth from Elohim. And YHWH answered them, do you now believe? See, an hour is coming and has come that you are scattered, each to his own, and leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These words I have spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you have pressure, but take courage, I have overcome the world. And then finally, chapter 17. YHWH said these words and lifted up his eyes to the heaven and said, Father, the hour has come. Esteem your Son, so that your Son might also might esteem you, as you have given him authority over all flesh, that he should give everlasting life to all whom you have given him. And this is everlasting life, that they should know you, the only true Elohim, and Yahshua Messiah, whom you have sent. I have esteemed you on the earth, having accomplished the work you have given me that I should do. And now esteem me with yourself, Father, with the esteem which I had with you before the world was. I have revealed your name to the men whom you gave me out of the world. They were yours, and you gave them to me, and they have guarded your word. Now they have come to know that all you gave to me is from you, because the words which you gave to me I have given to them. And they have received them and have truly known that I came forth from you, and they believe that you sent me. I pray to them. I do not pray for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours. And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I have been esteemed in them. And I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. Set apart, Father, guard them in your name, which you have given me, so that they might be one as we are. When I was with them in the world, I was guarding them in your name, which you have given me, and I watched over them, and not one of them perished except for the son of destruction, that the scripture might be filled. And now I come to you, and I speak these words in the world so that they have my joy completed in them. I have given them your word, and the world hates them because they are not of the world, as I am not of the world. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the wicked one. They are not of the world, as I am not of the world. Set them apart in your truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I also sent them into the world. And for them I set myself apart, so that they too might be set apart in truth. And I do not pray for these alone, but also for those believing in me through their word, so that they might be one as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, so that they too might be one in us, so that the world might believe that you have sent me. In the esteem which you gave me, I have given them, so that they might be one as we are one. I in them, and you in me, so that they might be perfected into one, so that the world knows that you have sent me, and have loved them as you have loved me. Father, I desire that those whom you have given me might be with me where I am, so that they see my esteem which you have given me, because you have loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, indeed, the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew that you sent me. And I have made your name known to them, and you shall make it known, so that the love with which you loved me might be in them, and I in them. Matthew chapter 26. Now these are the things that Yahshua said to his taught ones after the meal. But we're going back to the meal. Matthew 26, verse 26. And as they were eating, Yahshua took bread, and having blessed, broke, and gave it to the taught ones, and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup, and giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, Drink from it, all of you. For this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many for the forgiveness of sins. But I say to you, I shall certainly not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on till the day when I drink it anew with you in the reign of my Father. Now that's a lot to absorb. I mean, all that reading we just did, that's a lot to absorb. But do you understand the significance now? These are not emblems that replaced Passover. These were metaphors of praise to Yahweh and fellowship with brethren that Yahshua applied to himself, his life, his ministry, his death and resurrection. When you do this in the stead of Passover, you are doing something that is not Passover and calling it Passover, but it is not Passover. And in so doing, You have forgotten what Yahweh told you to remember and missed the point of what Yahshua wanted you to see. In so doing, you have missed the point of both. It's likely it went something like this. If you want to follow along, we're going to look in Mark 14. Mark 14, verse 22. Page 974. In verse 22. And as they were eating, Yeshua took bread, and having blessed, Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Blessed are you, O Yahweh, our Elohim, sovereign of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth, the bread that came down from heaven, the son of Adam. Broke it, gave it to them, and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup, giving thanks, Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, O Yahweh, our Elohim, sovereign of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. He gave it to them, and they all drank from it, the true vine, of which you are the branches. And he said to them, This is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many. Truly, I say to you, I shall certainly no more drink of the fruit of the vine till that day when I drink it anew in the reign of Elohim. These men would be forever reminded of the life and the work of our Messiah every time and that they ever came together to speak the blessing over the bread and the fruit of the vine in a way that they'd never experienced before. Amen. And then finally Luke 22, verse 19, same account, same words, basically. And taking the bread, verse 19. And taking bread, giving thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Likewise the cup also after supper, saying, This cup is the renewed covenant in my blood, which is shed for you. Blessed are you, O Yahweh, Elohim, sovereign of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Blessed are you, O Yahweh, our Elohim, sovereign of the universe, who creates fruit of the vine. Yevarkeka Yahweh ba'ishmareka ya'er Yahweh panavaleka v'kuneka yasa Yahweh panavaleka v'yasem lakash shalom. Yahweh bless you and guard you. Yahweh make his face to shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you his complete contentment.